Well, big news today from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Apparently, 4.3 million Americans quit their jobs in the month of August. I believe that's before old Joe Biden even signed his executive order saying that vaccine mandates are coming for all companies. That executive order, I looked it up on the White House website, is dated September 9th, so I believe that's probably when his press conference was too, and when he started talking about it. And already you had millions of people quitting their jobs, the most going back in the history of this series of the quits data, which goes back to the year 2000. Now, of course, this data is now over a month old. We're now in mid-October, and this data is from August. So, we can kind of assume, given what's been going on and what we're seeing in the economy, that the quits data is probably going to be worse in September and quite a bit worse in October. Now, we're seeing more fallout from the Southwest situation. I almost said scandal. I don't know if it's quite a scandal. But Southwest yesterday, I said, was, I think a good microcosm, a good indicator for what we're going to see moving forward in this economy as people try to implement vaccine passports. And, that's that you're going to lose a significant chunk of your labor force across the board, all within a very short period of time. And it's going to create significant disruptions in every industry across America. Now, the CEO of Southwest Airlines went on CNBC this morning with old Jim Cramer, and he said, I don't want to impose vaccine mandates. That's not my place. I don't think that that's my job. I shouldn't be doing that. I don't want to tell my employees what to do. But you see, old Joe Biden, he imposed it. Oh, excuse me. I had to sneeze there. I don't know if I paused in time. He imposed the vaccine mandate on us, Southwest Airlines. That's his position. That it's all Joe Biden's fault. And you see, Biden signed this executive order, and that means I have to do it, even though the governor of Texas, where Southwest Airlines is based, also signed an executive order saying the opposite, that nobody can impose a vaccine mandate on their employees, that is simply not going to be tolerated. And I believe that, there's a small fine, something like $1,000. Although I don't know if that's per employee, and I don't know if that is per day. I'm not sure what the specifics are on that fine from the state of Texas. But the CEO went on CNBC and he said, I wouldn't like to do this. It's all Joe Biden's fault, but hey, federal supremacy clause, that means that Joe Biden's executive order overrules Greg Abbott's executive order, and I have to follow what Joe Biden says. And the interesting thing here is that Joe Biden's executive order does not include all companies with over 100 employees or more, which, that's what people, talked about. That was the big news when Biden announced his vaccine mandate. Oh, we're going to mandate all companies with 100 employees or more are going to have to impose vaccine mandates on their employees, or really a testing mandate with a vaccine exemption. I remember yesterday talking about this and saying, I can't find any date for when that OSHA rule is going to go into effect. And the reason for that is that there is no OSHA rule yet. There's nothing on that as far as companies with 100 employees or more. Joe Biden just gave a press conference. There has been nothing, not even an executive order or a rule or a bureaucratic ruling proposed or passed or anything. There's nothing on the books about a vaccine mandate in the law. All there is a mandate for federal employees and federal contractors. So what the CEO of Southwest is trying to say is that, we Southwest Airlines, are counted as federal contractors under this executive order. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it seems kind of skimpy. I don't know, maybe his lawyers are saying, no, you are federal contractors. Maybe it's because they're at an airport, which airports are owned by the federal government. You're under their jurisdiction, and so if the president says, no unvaccinated employees, you have to go along with that. I don't know, but this seems to be a situation that is contentious and something that could be argued. And if he really didn't want to do this, he could argue that. if the CEO of Southwest Airlines really didn't want to impose this on his employees and the pilots and whoever else, he should be going on TV and saying, this is ridiculous, I'm not going to do it, I'm not a federal contractor, blah, blah, blah. Now, the other funny thing to come out of this interview with Jim Cramer is that he's still blaming the weather, yes, but he also admitted today that a lot of their delays in their flights and their cancellations are due to, quote, absenteeism, which is a very nice way of saying people aren't showing up for work. Now, the other big story today, and these are all pretty much interrelated, obviously, is Kyrie Irving, who has refused to get the vaccine, says, I don't need it, I don't want it, and he has been suspended by the Brooklyn Nets. Now, I applaud this guy. He's given up, apparently, $380,000 a game to sit on the bench and stand by his principles. Apparently, he also thinks that Kennedy was killed by the bankers, which, I don't know if that's 100% true, but hey, at least clearly seems to be a guy who thinks for himself. Now, it'll be very interesting to see how anecdotes like this reflect in the data. If we do start to see quits spike up even more in September and October, like we saw them in August, I would be not at all surprised if this record that was set in August is broken in either September or October. Not just because of the vaccine mandates, but a combination between these vaccine mandates pushing people out of their jobs if they're in a business with 100 employees or more, or if they work for some government agency, combined with the fact that this is such a open and amenable labor market. If you're a job seeker, this is a great time to need a job because almost everybody's hiring, and it's easy enough just to find a business who's got under 100 employees, and it's not going to require you to get a vaccine. And there are going to be businesses seeking out these people because businesses badly need employees. And they're going to advertise, I would think, hey, we don't care if you're vaccinated, just come on in. We need people to work. And even if people can't necessarily find a job that was paying as well as what they're giving up, they have that ability to quit their job and go find another one. And so if they don't want to get the shot, they're not going to do it. So in the medium run, yeah, people are going to be able to find other jobs if they're getting pushed out of their job because of a vaccine mandate. But in the short term, this is going to create unprecedented chaos in all sorts of markets across the country. We're going to continue to see weird shortages of different things, and we're going to be seeing them spike now all at once. Now, something else to consider about this OSHA regulation that is nowhere to be seen. It's total vaporware. Why is the Biden administration sitting on this? Why haven't they issued the ruling? Why do we have no date in which these companies with 100 employees or more are actually going to be mandated by the federal government to forcibly vaccinate their employees or test them every week? The answer is because once that ruling is in place, it can be challenged in court and likely will be overturned. It will likely be struck down, declared illegal. So what the Biden administration can do in the meantime is try and use the threat of this incoming regulation to force businesses to get in line early so that they're not caught off guard. All these businesses know, okay, this regulation's coming. I need to get in line. I need to force all my employees to get vaccinated. And the goal is to have them do this before the regulation is actually in place. That way, when the regulation is put in place and, eventually gets struck down by the courts, it doesn't matter because all the employees will already be vaccinated by then anyway. It will have achieved its mission of forcing everyone to take the shot. And a lot of companies like Southwest Airlines are going to be very happy to just go along with this and pretend and use the federal government as an excuse and say, oh, no, Joe Biden says you got to get the shot. He's making me do it. My hands are tied. They're going to use that as an excuse to push this onto their employees. And that is what is going to create all of these economic disruptions that we're just now starting to see. There's nothing special about Southwest Airlines that makes them, particularly vulnerable to this. What is happening right now to Southwest Airlines can happen to any of these big companies across the country who are going to try and impose this on their workers. Imagine Walmart trying to impose a vaccine mandate. You think that would go over well with Walmart employees? Plus, I mean, I didn't even talk about it much. You've got states like Texas and Florida, nullifying this federal edict and interposing themselves in between the federal government, businesses, and employees. And structurally, that's something that I'm very much in favor of. I think interposition is a great step in the right direction towards secession, or soft secession, implicit, the dilution of federal power. We want the feds to overstep their real power to try and claim that they're going to do something that they actually don't have the power to do themselves. And then when the states balk at that and say, no, we're not going to go along with it, the feds are exposed for being powerless. So, with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.